So today we are out in the garden. We are trying to get some beds flipped over. It's one of the last days that I have. Oop, I'm gonna move you around. Hold on, let me move that. I am trying to get some things in the ground for fall planting because we, in our particular, I guess you could say, neck of the woods, are about to kind of almost get to the place where there are certain things that we can no longer plant for the season. So I figured since we are out here and I feel like it's okay to do, we are going to talk about something that is, I guess, it's definitely a homeschool topic, but it kind of, it really puts together two things that I enjoy: gardening and teaching my kids. And so I am going to make a case for the garden. And one of why you, if you can, start implementing some gardening into your homeschool. So without further ado, let's get into the video. From Learning to Love Well, and this is me in my garden. That wind chime sound in the back, if it's loud, I am so sorry. I think it's actually very soothing. I hope you guys think so too. It was, I think, my anniversary gift. It was either an anniversary gift or a Mother's Day gift, but it's really hard to know the difference because they're literally right beside each other. And we are just flipping over our bed that we just had our green beans in, because our green beans, although I could do a second planting of green beans, I think we are just going to get some new things in the ground for right now. Pull this up. I've got some roots and stuff in there that I'm actually going to dig a little bit lower in the bed and drop them down so that all of that nitrogen that was in the green beans, legumes are nitrogen fixers, and I do not want to take those nitrogen fixers out of my soil, so I'm just getting them kind of leveled off and kind of put down so we can still plant around all of them. And yeah, so that's the plan. So if you are new to this channel, this is a channel all about homeschool. It's gonna go a little bit harder, isn't it? Because we got the wind going. This is a channel all about homeschool from a biblical worldview. Now, my case for the garden is going to include a biblical worldview, but it's also going to include just some facts and some statistics that I find very fascinating about gardening and research. And I like, if at all possible, in a very typical format. So this is the wind chime that's making all the fuss. So in a very typical fashion, I am one of those people who loves evidence-based research. I just do. I don't know what it is that I like so much. Maybe it's just the fact that I think the truth is fascinating, and I think that when we connect anything to statistics, or we can see evidence and then we can see why that is, especially when the Bible is like backing it up, it's just beautiful. It's wonderful. It's a faith strengthening exercise, and I love it. And so today, I don't know if I'm going to do part 2 of this, but I want to encourage you that if you can, start implementing gardening into your regular routine in homeschool, whether that's just like an after school activity, or maybe it's just something, my dog's coming to check on me, or something, just an after school activity that you want to start doing with your kids. I highly encourage you to start a garden. And it doesn't have to be big. I'm going to preface this with this though. If you are not in the space where that is even possible, and you have to start a grow bag, or you have to start a pot, or you want to start gardening, you can start with gardening herbs on your window. I never want somebody to be discouraged from gardening, 1. And 2, I never want somebody to feel pressured to do something or they feel like they're not doing it well. I think at times we compare ourselves way more to other people than we should. And that is not the heart of this channel. This channel is, I want a biblical worldview. I want to encourage people, and things that I have seen that works, things that I am researching and finding out are very beneficial. I want to share those things. I want to highlight those things. But I never in a million years want to make someone feel condemned. Oh, buddy. Hi. I never want to make someone feel condemned if you are just like, I don't have the capacity for that. And maybe you don't this season, and that's cool. Like, it's okay. Everyone has different seasons where we're in and out. Maybe there's an illness or something. But I can say for me, having a garden and having this time and working with, you know, even having my kids out here, even though they're not the biggest fans of gardening, I'm just going to go ahead and preface that. I have a couple who like helping me plant seeds. I have a couple who digging potatoes was fun for. And I have some that enjoy doing some parts of the garden, but not all of them. And that's okay. Gardening is hard work, especially if you're doing it on the scale that I am. And we're not even doing it on a massive scale. We're just doing it on a scale that our family is capable of taking care of. And yeah, so I just want to encourage you, like, this is not a condemnation video. It is, Sam, this is definitely like, hey, there's some really cool benefits about having a garden that I'd love for you to know. And that's what the heart of this video is for. So, always got to preface it because there's always going to be someone, and I never want them to feel condemned walking away from this video. That is not the heart. And see, my garden's not perfect. See my grow bag stashed over there with my mushroom compost that I'm not sure if I'm going to use because I bought some mushroom compost and it was less than desirable in consistency. It actually dried out some of my soil, which I don't understand that 100%. But either way, I just want to say this. Please don't ever take one of my videos and be like, now I feel such and such. Like, this is an encouragement. Okay, so what are the benefits to gardening? So the first thing I want to talk about is the health benefits. So according to Healthline, now if you don't know what Healthline is, it is a website where they actually compile journals together, and you can actually go back and see the research that was posted on there, and it's actually peer reviewed, or it's medically reviewed by a doctor before they just put the information out, which is super cool. And they said that in a study of dementia patients, that gardening actually improved if you've never seen a brain, it improved the nerve, like it grew actually some new nerve areas where that associate with memory. And that was both true in male and female patients with dementia. So that's pretty cool. So it did show to have potential effects on people who have dementia to when they got to garden and they got to do that, it actually seemed to improve in the area of memory. Now that's really cool, especially if you are one of those people who, well, that's pretty cool in general. Okay, so not even if you just have dementia, but what if you are just feeling like, I just want to improve my mind, I want to improve memory. Gardening seemed to have a pretty good effect on our brain, and in fact, even the nerves that were growing within our brain, which is really cool. The other thing is they seem to say that in a trial study, people who obesity was actually helped because of the moving around and the fact that, you know, it is kind of labor intensive to get up, you know, to dump compost in a bed or to get up, squat, move around, you know, plant different plants, different places, and you're squatted down and you're all of those things, and you're reaching and you're moving. So in a way, it's a form of exercise without or having a lot of repetition. The other thing they found was even the vegetable consumption improved. So obviously, like when you're growing stuff and you're doing things with your own hands, I think you put more stock into enjoying things, especially like if you're growing your own vegetables, you're probably more prone to actually eat the vegetables. Which in our modern society, we all need help getting the veggies in. You know, it's easier to grab a Pop-Tart, but the broccoli is better. And so that is definitely interesting. So far we have, you know, good for your overall health as far as your BMI size, We have your cognitive improvement, especially in it showed in dementia patients. And if you can help improve memory in a dementia patient, I wouldn't see why it wouldn't help improve memory in a healthy. Another cool thing is that it seems to help with fighting disease. So it seems to keep you healthier. Now, in our guts, we have a microbiome. And if you didn't know this, there are people, and you can look it up, that buy something called soil-based organisms, SBOs, which actually help your gut microbiome, because a lot of us are not out in the dirt anymore. We are in very clean environments with Clorox everything, and being out in the dirt and getting some of those microbes that we get from the soil can actually help improve some of our gut. Now, I think that's perfectly, actually really cool. There goes my dog. So yes, that's actually a really cool thing. It can actually help improve the immune system. Now, if you are a homeschooling family like we are, some of us tend to get, because we're not constantly in contact with everyone and we are at home because we're schooling, sometimes sickness runs through our house, maybe a little bit more rampant. Now, we use elderberry syrup, we use herbal remedies, and we do things like that, but unfortunately we're just not out in public as much as the atypical person from Monday to Friday. They're not always in school, so they're not integrated with all of these germs all the time. So anything that gets their hands in the dirt, playing outside, being inside of the garden, can actually help fight infections for our children, which is super cool. Another thing that is also really cool is being outside. There was a Harvard study that showed being 20 minutes outside in nature. So the Harvard study that I'm talking about, you can find it right here across the screen, and it talks about 20 to 30 minutes immersed in nature setting, which would be like outside in nature, was associated with the biggest drop in cortisol levels. Now, I remember this from a previous video that I looked up, and it's really cool. Now, personally, I think I take it back to Romans 1. I think from Genesis that we were put into a garden even before the fall to work it. And obviously, when God does anything, it's for our benefit. And so, yeah, I personally think that even psychologically, physiologically and psychologically, it definitely has benefits to get your hands in the soil, be more connected with nature, be more connected with your food. Yeah, just really get some of those health factors. And again, even some of the microbes from the soil. And as long as you're using healthy compost, things that have been composted down all the way, or even doing your own compost in the back. Hi, Siam. In the back of your yard, and allowing that to happen, which, by the way, would be a super cool experiment, watching like all the stuff, all of your vegetable scraps and your leaves and your grass cuttings and your like dead leaves and things turn into compost would be an amazing science experiment, especially with your older kids. And putting a thermometer in the middle of a compost pile would be really cool too. Sam, because there is a really cool experiment, and you get to see compost superheat in the middle of it, and how it actually naturally kills off some of that bacteria and microbes, and how it turns into wonderful compost for your plants. So science also is another beautiful factor of why I think you should obviously start a garden. And that's because there is so much richness. Not only do you learn about how to grow your food, not only do you learn that how to grow your food, and you get to be a part of growing your food, which makes it a super fun experiment, but also you get to learn. You get to learn about how soil works. You get to learn about the microbiome of the soil. You get to learn about phosphorus. You get to learn about nitrogen. You get to learn about potassium and trace minerals. You get to learn about things that may just be in theory in the classroom, but out here it's actually a reality of what is needed in the garden, which is really cool because you can learn and have hands-on experience in a way that, one, it's not just a science experiment that's going to make your kitchen smell weird. Two, it's something that actually contributes to the family, because obviously it can save you a lot of money if you do it well. And three, you get to learn and apply those hands-on criteria that you would be using in the classroom, but in real life and in practical application, that makes someone feel actually pretty good about themselves when they have a whole basket full of things they planted, and that whole basket of the things they planted, they actually get to use and eat, and it doesn't go to waste. In addition, and most importantly, so I saved the best for last, is the biblical richness. Now I could probably go, and before I get there, let's just say too, they also said that math skills can be improved in the garden because of the fact that you are using hands-on geometry, you are using things like perimeter, you are using things like area, you are actually having to figure out the square root. How many plants can you put in a bed by, say you have an 8x4 bed, well now you have 32 square feet. Okay, and each broccoli plant needs 12 square feet. How are you going to plant it up? How many can fit in there? So, I mean, like, there's so much math, there's so much reading because you have to read the seed packets. You have to know what they tolerate, what they like. You get to do some research. You get to do research on the bugs, the pests, how to control them organically. So just in that alone, it is a wealth of application for all the things that you are currently learning inside of your house. Plus, you get to feel like you did a job well done when it's all accomplished. And the last, but definitely not least, is the biblical insight. So this is something that I honestly was super surprised. I don't think I ever thought that this would be a side effect of the garden, is understanding more of God's word. Now, obviously, if you've read the Bible, that should be a no-brainer to most people, but maybe I'm just a little bit, God has to put things in front of me maybe a little bit more than most people. But the biblical insight that you get in the garden is amazing. When you see things like you reap what you sow, you really understand the concept that if you put a carrot seed in the ground, you're not going to get corn, right? You get the understanding of the parable of the seeds, where seeds will grow. Now, sometimes there are one or two seeds that are resilient, but for the most case, you really do see what Jesus is talking about when he talks about needing good soil for your plants so that your plants don't die off. Even some of the hard concepts with Paul talking about, not letting people who are in the church continue to do things that are wrong because it will really upset things. You might not understand that until blight gets on your plants, and at the first spot you're ready to take that thing out because you'd rather get rid of that one plant than you would have to get rid of the whole garden. And it is awesome and amazing to just see how many things come alive in the garden. I think one of my favorite things was finding out that cucumbers and a lot of cucurbits, that the moment they become fully mature, a lot of the plants die. As soon as they have successfully done their mission and reproduced after its kind and put out seeds that are viable, a lot of them will die. And I thought that was so cool because it made me think of Genesis. They're following the command in Genesis. They're being fruitful, they're multiplying, and then they wither out afterwards. And so as you can tell, I'm super pumped about the garden. Even though there is burnout, I'm not gonna lie, there is definitely burnout, and there are seasons where you are ready to just be like, I'm done. I'm not going out there for like 2 weeks. I don't want to anymore. And then there are seasons where you are so excited to get back out there and to just go put more dirt in the ground and more seeds in the ground to see what you can grow. But I encourage you, if you are looking for something to just add an overall value to your homeschool, start small. Start with maybe an 8x4 bed. So that's what that is right behind me, is an 8x4 bed. Or even maybe like this. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just a tiny, I have soil conditioner bag beside me, guys. Clearly I'm in the throes of replanting because you will see bags and everything all over the place. But this is like, I think probably a 3-foot diameter and round bed, and you can get a good, that was my little broccoli plant, by the way, if you didn't see it, it was in there. I have to replant it, Lord willing it works, because 2 of them got decapitated. Such is life. But there are things that are disappointments in gardening, but if you continue to persevere, you will reap a harvest. And so if you are looking for something even for next year, and you are like, I want something more hands-on, something that we can experience as a family, something that we can just enjoy as a family, and to add to our educational success, I highly suggest you try the garden. Because like I said, biblically, it helps you understand the Bible more. Academically, it improves, and physiologically and psychologically, it adds so much value because it's just good for the health. Maybe that's why God put us in the garden. All right, well, I'm signing off because I've got stuff I've got to do, and I could probably talk to you longer, but let's face it, we're moms. I hope you guys, when you guys listen to me, you put me on and you go around and do what you need to do and just listen like we're chatting. I love you guys. I hope to see you next time. God bless you and have a great day.